What's going on, everyone? Let us be one of probably the last to wish you a happy Halloween in 2018. We are back after a 2-week hiatus, one due to a YouTube outage and the other due to just time constraints. We are back here on the Fantasy Football Stock Report, your Week 9 preview edition. Spikey Dash here, of course, with you. I'm Spyro the Dragon this year because the Reignited trilogy is coming out here in a few weeks for PS4. I am very, very excited. Nate Henninger joins me as Jim McMahon from the 85 Bears. Even got the shades. So, very exciting. Our team last week to start, and also brief disclaimer before we even go into that, kind of a new system, new way of doing things, new format, more environmentally friendly. I'm kind of eliminating the paper usage, so I'm kind of going to green, paper-free. Basically, I'm utilizing kind of the more tools like I have my phone. I have injury updates all on my phone. I have another window actually open with player cheat sheets in it. So from Fantasy Pros, which is a site that we use to help us in our league. So that'll help with the game-by-game breakdown as well. So our team, the fun came to an end for us last week. You can't, the zones of luck runs out. Yes, yeah. After 6 straight wins, we lost to Insane again, 98-69. Rough go. Our core players did not show up. And our bench guys, meanwhile, went off like crazy. Sammy Watkins went off. Larry Fitzgerald went off. O.J. Howard went off. But Howard is starting now, so is Watkins. Fitzgerald's on a bye this week. So we made some big changes as a result of that. Kind of the players that did not show up. Thank you, Jameis Winston, for throwing 4 interceptions. Having 10 turnovers now in 4 weeks. Actually, 11. He also has a fumble. So 11 turnovers in 4 weeks.
Hey,
you're gone.
I'm blind, and even I don't do that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Of course, right?
He was open.
He was open. And Winston has some of the best receivers in the league with Mike Evans and Deshaun Jackson and Howard and all that and all his core. But for now, Tampa, the Fitz magic will return. So you can't get those on, no.
No.
So you know that somewhere in the dark alley, Fitzmagic is back. My guy's back. Jameis, who? I mean, the guy's throwing interceptions all over the place. He's tossing them like money out the back of a van. I mean, what is this guy doing? He's throwing all these picks. It's like, come on now. It's not how you handle the football. What, you got Butterfingers on your hands or something? Hanging out Butterfinger like candy. You know, what's going on? He's throwing up turnovers like free candy. Jameis, it's not Halloween in football every single day. Come on, man. I mean, but Fitzmagic, my guy, is going to put Tampa Bay back in the right direction. He's going to hit Mike Evans. He's going to hit Deshaun Jackson. He's going to make O.J. Howard a stud for our team. I mean, he's going to make it hot, baby. You heard it right here.
Wow. And I'm going to have to tell Sarah to watch the first, 5 minutes?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Oh, my.
You called it. You knew he'd make a return with Fitzmagic. You knew it. He's his guy. What more can we say?
I said it.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick starting. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Guy's going to make it.
Yep. So there you go. But, so, yeah, rough week for us. So we got rid of Winston. We got rid of Crabtree, who had 3 points. We got rid of Matt Prater, who had 1 point. And then we got rid of David Njoku, who had a goose egg. So, yeah, it was time to make some moves to get us back.
Consistency, as I've said,
but not consistently bad.
Consistently inconsistent?
No. You cannot be costing us weeks. You can't do it. When we've hit 90, 100 points, on a weekly basis, and then we get 69, that doesn't work.
That's a little ridiculous.
We got 69, pretty much.
Yeah.
We took a spiral fireball to the crotch. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But it's bounce back week. But this week though is maybe a little bit tough, kind of maybe a little bit spooky to navigate because 6 teams are on a bye this week. 6, yeah. with some big players lost. So Arizona is on a bye this week. The Giants, so no Saquon Barkley, no Odell Beckham this week. Let's see.
We're prepared.
Yeah, we are prepared. We did make some moves to adjust that. So Arizona with no Fitzgerald, no David Johnson. Also this week, Cincinnati. So no AJ Green, no Andy Dalton, no Joe Mixon, who went off last week and killed us because Insane Again had Joe Mixon. No Colts this week. So no Andrew Luck, no T.Y. Hilton, no Marlon Mack, who actually has had back-to-back weeks of 100-plus rushing yards. So maybe now the things will start to worry a bit. No Jacksonville Jaguars, though Jacksonville sucked the past several weeks.
Yeah.
And no Philadelphia Eagles. So no Carson Wentz, no Alshon Jeffrey, no backfield there with Corey Clement or Wendell Smallwood. So a lot of big names missing this week. You have to adjust, make some moves, prepare yourself. But we're here to help you out. We're here to navigate the waters. So again, with the new format, basically it won't be this way. It'll be mainly the thing when it comes to game is we'll talk about the injuries. We'll talk injury report first, and then we will talk about who you should start, who you should sit in each game. So that's really how it's going to be going forward. But first, this will be kind of a new thing because it happened yesterday. The NFL trade deadline was yesterday. And it was a big day across the league as some major moves were made across the NFL. I think the biggest one was the Lions trading wide receiver Golden Tate to the Eagles. That's a big get for Carson Wentz. That gives him another weapon to pair with Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar. That's huge for Philadelphia. So Tate lands in a good situation. His value is going to go up going forward. And then the Lions, clear. If the Lions are making this move, they know now they're set with Marvin Jones and Kenny Galladay as their number 2 going forward. So huge there. Another big deal, the Texans getting Demaryius Thomas from Denver. Big get for Deshaun Watson because they lost Will Fuller for the season last week to a torn ACL.
Okay.
So Fuller's done. So they needed another weapon like that. And again, forms a nice 1-2 combo with DeAndre Hopkins, who continues to be insane, making these one-handed catches.
And after the trade deadline, you get to sign a free agent, don't you?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, you do. Yeah.
We're off the practice squad.
So huge get there. From a Bronco perspective, Emmanuel Sanders is going to get more targets. Cortland Sutton, the rookie, is going to get more targets. And actually, the Texans play the Broncos this week. So right away, Thomas faces his former team, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. What else? I know you kind of follow the Packers a little bit. The Packers made some moves. They sent Ty Montgomery to the Ravens.
Okay.
So they're pass catching back. So he's gone now. So now it's going to be Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams leading the backfield for Green Bay. But now Montgomery comes into Baltimore and probably will take on the role that Buck Allen does now. He won't affect Collins as much. Collins will still be the main back. But I think he's going to take over Allen's spot. So Allen's value is going to disappear completely.
Too bad they can't trade away a couple tight ends.
Right. Yeah, did you forget Tanya some playing time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And not only did they get rid of Montgomery, they got rid of HaHa Clinton Dix.
Okay.
They sent him to Washington. So one of the better safeties in the league. So interesting that Green Bay's making these moves, especially with the NFC North as tough as it is this year with Minnesota and Chicago doing well and Detroit. It's interesting that Green Bay makes those moves. So I found that very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, combined with already a couple of moves that we saw earlier in the day or earlier last week when Amari Cooper got traded to Dallas from Oakland. Yeah. So that's a big get for Dak Prescott. Now that he has a top wide receiver. So some very interesting moves, definitely going to shake things up in real life and in fantasy. So maybe a player you thought you weren't high on before now landing in a good situation. Again, I like the Golden Tate deal for Philadelphia. I like the Thomas deal for the Texans. I think there's going to be some major shakeups there going forward. So huge in that regard. Okay, so now let's talk about injuries heading into this week. Actually, maybe we better do this way. If we do it if you do game by game, we'll do injuries first and then lead into who should play. I think that'll work better. So tomorrow night, Thursday Night Football, Raiders at 49ers. This is kind of a ugly game. This is probably the game of the WEAK because this is 1-6 against 1-7. I mean, the Niners, the poor Niners, they ever since Garoppolo went down and was lost for the year, they've lost every game since. CJ Beathard has yet to win a start. They have been absolutely rough, and they've been wrecked by injuries. I mean, so to talk about the 49ers, a lot of their players are listed as either out or questionable. Beathard himself is dealing with a right wrist injury. He didn't practice. He's listed as questionable.
And who's the starting quarterback?
Garoppolo.
Now.
Oh, Beathard. Beathard is now. Yeah, Garoppolo was. Beathard is now but he's expected to play. The wrist, they don't think is going to get too much of a hindrance for him, so he should play. Matt Breida, the running back, ankle issue, limited participation, listed as questionable. So if he goes, I think you can play him. Pierre Garçon also, shoulder issue, wide receiver. He's limited, questionable. Same with Raheem Mostert. So both their running backs, Breida and Mostert, limited in practice, listed as questionable. So definitely something. Yeah. So definitely something you want to monitor on that if you have either Breida or Mostert in your league. So monitor that to game time. I think Breida is the better play as long as he goes. If not, Mostert's a pretty strong play, and Beathard will be fine. No real Raiders are really in danger of missing this game from an offensive standpoint. No, they're pretty solid.
Okay.
So when it comes to the positions, we got Derek Carr off waivers. San Francisco's pass defense is one of the worst in the league. They've given up a lot. Carr, I think, is projected for like 19 points this week, according to CBS. So
nice.
And Carr's actually done really well for us in the past. Even though they didn't have Cooper last week against the Colts, he went off. He threw for like 300-some yards and like a lot of time. Like I think he had 3 touchdowns. So even without Amari Cooper, he's still got Jordy Nelson. He's still got I forget the other guy, but yeah, he still has targets there. So Jared Cook at tight end. So he does have targets. Joe Richard, the back out of the backfield. So I think he'll be fine. I think Carr, again, if you need help at quarterback, bye week help, obviously, I think Carr's a solid play.
Yeah.
I think Beathard's an okay play too. I think they're both kind of in that QB2 bracket because, again, Oakland secondary, nothing to write home about either. Just got shredded, of course, by Andrew Luck and the Colts. So so either way, Carr or Beathard, I think, are decent plays. In terms of the running backs, Marshawn Lynch, decent play. Oh wait, no, I think he's done. Yeah, he's on IR. So it's Jalen Richard and Doug Martin. Martin, the thing is how they're going to utilize the backs. That's the biggest thing. Martin is their workhorse. Richard's more their passing down, their third down back, but he's starting to get consistent targets. So maybe Martin is maybe, I think, an RB2 play at best. I think our opponent, actually Fins has Doug Martin this week, but he's only projected for like 8 points. So Martin, I think, more of an RB2. Richard, kind of a 2 or 3 or a flex play. And again, I mentioned with Breida and Mostert, if Breida goes, I think he's a solid RB2 play. If he's out, Mostert then will get locked into that RB2 role. More so of a flex if he's like the third down back, because Mostert played at Purdue, and I remember when Mostert was there, and he's got speed, like he's a speed freak. So, looking from that perspective, wideouts, San Francisco's big weapon is Marquise Goodwin, and and Goodwin has had some ups and downs, but he's got a nice rapport with CJ Beathard. So if you're hurting at wide receiver, Goodwin could be a wide receiver 3 at best. I don't like him as an elite option, but he's the best of what they've got. If Garçon goes, he's just more of, I think, of a risky 4. Then from an Oakland perspective, really Jordy Nelson now is all they've got left. He's pretty much now the top option there, aside from Jared Cook at tight end. Jordy's an okay play. I think maybe, again, more so kind of borderline 2 or 3. Aside from that, he's Seth Roberts, but he's way down on the list, so I don't even see Seth Roberts, Martavis Bryant. They're kind of way down below on the list. They're not even owned in our league. So yeah, I don't really recommend them as more than like a desperate dart throw flex play, like a 4 or 5. Then tight end, George Kittle, of course, is one of the best in the league. He's a tight end 1. He's locked in. You start George Kittle. He's got a great rapport with Bether, being former college teammates at Iowa. So you go with him. And same with Jared Cook. Again, Jared Cook, one of their tight ends in the league at the position. Fantasy Pros, I think, has him here ranked at least. I don't know if this is this week. Yeah, this is this week. Kittle's number 2. Cook is number 4. So, again, solid option either way. So I think both will do very, very well. Defenses, though, in this game, you're not going to play. Again, these are 2 rough defenses. This could be a shootout game. So it could actually be, surprisingly for Thursday, quite entertaining. So now going into the 1 o'clock games. Right now it shows no injuries to report either way. Well, there were a few, I know, earlier today, but then again, this is just the start of the practice week. I wonder if Fantasy Life would say anything. Because I know I got a few alerts from CBS today. Let's see, when's week 9?
Pacers are 4-3. Knicks are 2-5, but they're kicking our butt right now.
It's in New York. You gotta keep that in mind. Okay, let's see. So we're just going to run down these injuries and then just kind of go game by game. That's really how it's going to go because there's not a whole lot on the injury front right now. Just released the reports today. Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs, is still dealing with that groin issue at wide receiver. So if he doesn't play again this week, that's big for Sammy Watkins. Melvin Gordon's hamstring is an issue for the Chargers. That's a big issue. So if he does not go, then Austin Eckler will get more work. Dalvin Cook's hamstring. He actually did practice today. Dalvin Cook, who's been out for most of the season with that hamstring issue in Minnesota, he actually did practice today. He got unlimited work, so that could be huge if he comes back. Theo Riddick in Detroit with a knee. Let's see, no timetable has been given for Hill's return. But again, that helps Watkins if Hill is out. Another contender could be limited if Melvin Gordon recovered from his hamstring injury. So we'll see if he comes back this week. Notable receivers who aren't guaranteed to suit up this week include Torrey Smith, Carolina, with a knee. So if he remains out, DJ Moore is someone that benefits. Allen Robinson in Chicago with a groin issue. So if he remains out, then guys like Anthony Miller will step up in his absence. Cooper Kupp and the Rams with a knee issue. So again, if he's out, Robert Woods will look to gain more targets as well, along with Brandon Cooks. Kiki Cutie in Houston, that hamstring's still an issue with him. Okay. So if he remains out, then you'll see Hopkins and Thomas get more of the work. I mentioned Pierre Garcon, Quincy Enunwa, ankle for the Jets. So if he's out, Robbie Anderson will turn soon to get more work. But also Anderson is also hurt with an ankle issue. Latavius Murray and Kerryon Johnson owners will want to invest or continue monitoring the statuses of Dalvin Cook and Theo Riddick. Okay, so here we go. Week 9 injuries. Okay, and this is by team. Now, I did see a report from Baltimore today that Alex Collins was limited today with a foot issue, but right now they're not thinking his status is in doubt for this week, so he should be fine. Now, Buffalo, Derek Anderson, that concussion means, that he's, his status should be monitored throughout the week. We already know Josh Allen with the elbow is out. So that means Nathan Peterman will be at quarterback for the Bills against that Bears defense who tends to throw a lot of interceptions. Yeah, so our Bills defense is probably going to kick some major butts. Let's see. Carolina, we mentioned Torrey Smith with the knee. You mentioned Allen Robinson with the groin. Also, Chicago, Khalil Mack dealing with that ankle issue. Still kind of a hindrance for him. We'll see if that plays a factor. We'll see if he gets back to practice this week as well. For Cleveland, really no big names on the list there. Dallas. Now, Amari Cooper is in the concussion protocol. We'll see if he goes this week. But obviously, if he does, that's big for Dallas because they're also dealing with Tavon Austin with the groin issue and Terrence Williams with the foot issue. He's on IR. He's done for the year. Denver, Royce Freeman did a little bit of an ankle issue. Monitor that. Philip Lindsay will be a benefit if he remains on the shelf. Again, Detroit, Theo Riddick with the knee. Monitor that. Green Bay, Geronimo Allison, Randall Cobb still dealing with those hamstring issues. Monitor that throughout the week. Jimmy Graham still with a bit of a knee issue at tight end. But it looks like he's going to be go. I mentioned Kiki Cutie with that hamstring for Houston. Bruce Ellington's already been, I think, waived with that. He's on IR now with that hamstring. He's already been waived by the team. Of course, Will Fuller's done for the year. Tyreek Hill with the groin issue for Kansas City. Again, Melvin Gordon, the biggest thing for the Chargers. And then Miami, of course, big question with the Dolphins. Kenny Stills with the groin issue at receiver. If he remains out, Danny Amendola is going to get more targets. So Devontae Parker. Tannehill with the shoulder issue as well. Again, for Minnesota, Dalvin Cook with the hamstring, but he practiced, so we'll see what happens with him. For New England, Julian Edelman, ankle and illness. Monitor that. Josh Gordon still with the hamstring. Gronkowski with the ankle and back, but they played last week. Again, Sony Michel with the knee. Monitor that going forward. Because, again, Jeremy Hill, Rex Burkhead are both on IR. For the Saints, Ted Ginn's on IR with the knee issue. Jets, of course, both receivers under, with the ankle issue, Anderson and Enunwa. Of course, it's Isaiah Crowell's backfield now because Bilal Powell and Eli McGuire are both on IR with injuries. Pittsburgh, Ben Roethlisberger, though, has popped up with a fractured finger. So we want to monitor that. The Steelers don't think his status is going to be affected by that, so just keep that in mind, but monitor that throughout the week. Seattle, no real big names. Again, San Francisco. Again, the running backs are questionable. I know that. Gerson's questionable. Tampa Bay, Ronald Jones, the running back, hamstring issue. If he remains out, Peyton Barber will still get the bulk of the work there. Tennessee, no real big issues. Washington, Jamison Crowder, the wide receiver with the ankle issue. Want to monitor that as well. That's really the only big name on that front. So, knowing that, go back to the NFL here. Going into the 1 o'clock games. If NFL.com will load on my phone. Think about going paper free, you got to rely on technology. My workday Monday, my technology was screwing up like crazy. Okay. Lions and Vikings, 1 o'clock Monday in Minnesota. Big game there. Lions 3 sitting at 3-4. The Vikings at 4-3-1. Big storyline there is Adam Thielen. He now has 100 yards in 8 straight games receiving, which is unbelievable. The only other player to do that, have 100 yards in 8 games, was Calvin Johnson, the former Lion, who was amazing. And so Adam Thielen remains a must start. Same with Stephon Diggs, and Diggs had a big week for us last week. He broke out of his recent slump with over 100 yards and a touchdown. So 17 fantasy points for Mr. Diggs. So quarterbacks in this game, I think you can start both guys. I think this game is going to be potentially a shootout. Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford. Either way, I think you can start either option is going to be solid this week. Running back wise for Detroit, Kerryon Johnson. It's nice. Again, it's nice to see that Detroit's finally found a solid running back. One that can actually put up decent numbers, and Kerryon Johnson is doing that right now. So I think you continue to roll him out. Fantasy Pros has him ranked 18th this week, which is very solid. Low end RB1, RB2. So I think you can definitely keep going with him as well. From a Viking perspective, it's really a question mark at this point because, again, Latavius Murray has done amazing in Dalvin Cook's absence. But Cook did practice today, granted in a limited fashion, but he did practice. So now a lot of people thought that Cook was going to come back till after the bye week in week 10 to week 11. But now if he's practicing, who knows what could happen. So Murray's been a solid RB1, RB2 as long as Cook's been out. But if Cook comes back, and then it's kind of like, okay, Cook, they might want to put him back as a starter again and have Murray kind of ease into his third down role again. So monitor that. But for now, treat Murray as you normally would. Treat him as you'll start him this week. But monitor the Cook situation with practice and see if he practices or not. And, of course, if Theo Riddick is out, that only means more touches. I think maybe even for Garrett Blount, maybe use him more in third down role as well. But we'll see. So keep that in mind. Or maybe, dare I say, work for Amir Abdullah. But, again, Adam Thielen, he's the number one wide receiver on Fantasy Pros, and understandably so. He's – oh, goodness. Live television. The wonder of live streaming. Spyro sneeze. Thank you, at least I didn't actually breathe fire. But Adam Thielen is number one for obvious reasons. You start him. You start Stephon Diggs. Any of the Minnesota receiver, I wouldn't trust. Laquan Treadwell is only vaguely gets targets thrown his way.
Fired.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I wouldn't trust him. For Detroit, though, again with Golden Tate now gone, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay are going to get more targets in this offense. So both guys now are must-start options, especially Galladay now. I mean, Jones is probably going to be now a wide receiver one. Kenny Galladay, 1 or 2. I mean, they're both now going to get a ton of targets. It remains to be seen who's going to be the number 3, if one even emerges for Detroit. But we'll see what comes of that now that Tate is gone. But really, there's not a name. Maybe Brandon Powell emerges as that guy, but we'll see. But for now, Galladay, Jones locked in your lineups. Tight end, Kyle Rudolph. I mean, Kyle Rudolph, the thing about him is he's very touchdown dependent. Kyle Rudolph, if Kyle Rudolph does not find the end zone, he has a rough day. But the thing is, tight end is such a very thin position this year. And we've lost a lot of tight ends this year because of injury. So tight end being very thin as it is, I think you can still put Kyle Rudolph out there. Granted, he's more of a tight end too, but I think you can still put him out there and get decent production from Kyle Rudolph. You're not using a Detroit tight end. Detroit hardly even uses their tight ends. You don't buy into Michael Roberts and his 2-touchdown day. That's not going to happen every single week. Don't buy into that. That's a rare occurrence. I think there was his only targets of the game. So don't buy into that. It doesn't happen often. Again, with fantasy, you want to take into account what is likely going to happen more often. In terms of the defenses, obviously you're not using Detroit's defense. Obviously, not against that Vikings offense on the road. But the Vikings DST, It's not going to be an elite option this week based on the fact that Detroit can put up, just as good points. I mean, granted, Detroit did struggle against Seattle last week, another very good defensive unit. But Minnesota, I think they're still startable considering with 6 teams on bye. They're still usable, but don't expect like massive production from Minnesota's DST. I think they'll still put up maybe. I wouldn't be surprised they hit double digits. I wouldn't be surprised at that, but don't be surprised if they don't get you a high number, just based on this matchup. Let's talk about the aforementioned Bears. Let's talk about the Bears and the Bills. This matchup is pretty straightforward. You're going to want to start a lot of your Bills in this game. Again, with the Bills, with Allen already out with the elbow issue and Anderson in concussion protocol, it's looking like more and more it's going to be Nathan Peterman starting this week for Buffalo. And that can only mean good things from a Bears defense perspective and a not so good thing from Buffalo. But then again, Buffalo's had a rough go of it anyway this year. So it's basically, you're starting a lot of your Chicago players in this game. Mitchell Trubisky is a great bye-week filler option this week. He is an absolutely – he's rated as the 12th best on Fantasy Pros. I think that's really a good spot for him. I think he's gonna put up really, really good numbers. It might be along the line, maybe not what we saw against Tampa Bay when he threw 6 touchdown passes, but I could certainly see him getting at least 3, if not more. I think this is a day where he's going to shine. Granted, again, he may not have Allen Robinson with that injury situation, so want to monitor that, but he still has nice rapport with Taylor Gabriel, with Anthony Miller, with Trey Burton at tight end, with Cohen out of the backfield. I mean, this could be a very big day for Mitch Trubisky. If you are in need of a quarterback, if you need somebody this week to be on bye, I'm telling you what. I know normally Trubisky's a QB2. For this matchup, he's a borderline QB1. I think he will really put up some very, very decent numbers. It would not surprise me even if Trubisky exceeds that ranking and ends up as a top 10 fantasy quarterback this week because of this plus matchup. So I really like Trubisky. Obviously, you're not starting. Let's just get this out of the way right now. Again, and we've said it all year. You're not relying on any Buffalo Bills skill players in fantasy at this point. You really can't. There's not one guy, and that includes LaShawn McCoy, and that includes Kelvin Benjamin, because LaShawn McCoy can't stay healthy to save his life, and Kelvin Benjamin is not a top receiver. He's the number 1 receiver by default, but with the quarterback situation as messy as it is, you can't rely on that for fantasy. And Charles Clay doesn't get enough targets at tight end, so you're not starting any Bills for fantasy purposes. The Bears running backs, you can start both of them at this point. Jordan Howard obviously is locked in as the main back, but Tariq Cohen, my word, he has not only evolved to a must-start obviously he was a must-start in PPR leagues from the start because of his third down work. He's now evolved to a must-start in standard leagues because of the work he's getting, the targets he's getting from Trubisky, the work he's doing out of the backfield. Tariq Cohen is now a must-start. Actually, they're on Fantasy Pros. They're rated right next to each other. Like Howard is 16th, Cohen is 17th. So they are very much both expected to do big things, and I agree with that 100%. So yeah, you can use both Chicago running backs. For the Bears wide receivers. Again, it depends on the health of Allen Robinson. It depends on whether or not he's a go. But it's looking, right now. I don't think Vance President has him ranked right now. So Taylor Gabriel would be the biggest beneficiary of that. And actually, they actually have Gabriel higher than Allen Robinson. That's quite surprising. I thought Robinson would be mainly because the injury maybe is limiting him a bit. So Taylor Gabriel has done great things in this offense. I think he's a solid now wide receiver 2 at the very least. So you can start him for sure. If Robinson does play, then again, kind of in that same bracket, wide receiver 2 or 3. because I'm sure he's going to be limited by that a little bit, but I think he's still have a good day regardless. Anthony Miller, if Robinson is out, then gets bumped up to startable status as a wide receiver 3 as well. So, yeah, you're going to want to – and, of course, Trey Burton. Trey Burton you're going to want to – is a lock, stock, barrel. He's getting a ton of targets in this offense from Trubisky. He's a tight end 1. You start him for sure. And the Bears' defense, of course, is the play of the week. I mean, let's be real. If Peterman's going to start, regardless of who starts Buffalo, whether it's Josh Allen or Peterman or Anderson, regardless of who starts, the Bears' defense, even if they don't have Khalil Mack, this is a exploitable matchup. So you start the Bears' defense this week. I know they've had some rough patches, they've had some rough weeks due to tough matchups and Mack being out, but this matchup they need to take advantage of. So definitely have your Bears DST back in your lineup this week. Speaking of Fitzmagic, Tampa Bay is at Carolina. Big game here, NFC South, division rivalry. This game could potentially be another fun game. We got a lot of fun matchups this week in the NFL week now. We got some fun games here. Yeah, lot to dissect here, lot to take in. But the biggest thing, the Bucks just give up a lot. So, their scoring defense is ranked dead last. So the Panthers this week, if you have Panthers in your fantasy lineup or fantasy team, you're going to want to start a lot of these guys in fantasy as well because Tampa Bay just gives up so much. Now, granted, Tampa Bay, though, is very skilled, very talented, and with Fitzpatrick back under center, these guys, again, are going to have, I think, some really, really good weeks. So there's a lot of guys in this game that I like. Obviously, from a Carolina perspective, again, the quarterbacks, Cam Newton, of course, is a lock, stock, set, forget, number 1 every single week. He's an obvious play. You don't need me to tell you to start Cam Newton. You can do that automatically. But, again, if you need help at quarterback, if you need a bye week filler, if you need a replacement, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, don't hesitate to take a look at Fitzmagic. I mean, it's, clearly he is the better quarterback in Tampa Bay. And I'm surprised that the trade deadline passed and Jameis Winston wasn't moved. But here's the thing. Dirk Cutter, the coach of the Bucs, did say that they're kind of taking this on a week-by-week basis, kind of like the hot hand. Like, whichever player has the hotter hand, has the better week, that's who we're going to go with. Now, granted, as a whole, using data as a whole this season, Ryan Fitzpatrick has played the better quarterback for the Buccaneers in this offense. He clearly has looked, like the better quarterback. So, his numbers just better, and the fact he doesn't throw as many interceptions. He does throw interceptions, but not the regularity that Winston does. Winston, of course, has 10 interceptions and a fumble in only 4 appearances. That is terrible. So clearly the Bucs need to make this move, and with the weapons that Tampa has, Fitzpatrick is probably going to take advantage of that. And Carolina's secondary is really nothing to write home about. So, they're good. They're not like elite. So the opportunities are there. Fitzpatrick is I think a solid bye week filler, solid QB2 appeal at the very minimum. The upside certainly is there with him. I think you can take a chance on him if he's still available in your league. I think you can take a chance on Ryan Fitzpatrick. The running backs in this game, of course, Carolina, Christian McCaffrey is a set forget. You roll him out every single time as well. He is just making plays across the board. So yeah, you roll out him. From a Tampa Bay perspective, though, again, it's not that Peyton Barber is bad. It's just that he's not doing much with his opportunities. But now that Ronald Jones dealing with this hamstring issue, if that continues to be an issue, then maybe Peyton Barber will get more work, and hopefully he'll take advantage of it. He's rated 29th on Fantasy Pros. That's kind of that RB2, RB3 or flex play. And I think that's kind of really where Barber lies. And the Panthers' run defense is very tough. It's very that front 4 we know of Carolina is very stout. So Peyton Barber may have a rough go of it. So we'll see what happens, but it's tricky. It's really, really tricky to see. So I like McCaffrey, of course. Barber, more of a 2-3 or flex. Again, the wide receivers here. again, for Carolina, Devin Funchess obviously is a set forget, must start. You know that. He's their main weapon. But again, but DJ Moore, again, if the other receiver that's there does not go, then Moore took advantage of that. Welcome back. Mm-hmm. Moore took advantage last week of the fact that Torrey Smith was out with that knee injury, didn't play, and he had a great fantasy day. So if that happens again, Moore could be in line. And really, I think, Moore is the younger talent. He's taking advantage of opportunities. I think he should be the main guy anyway, ahead of Torrey Smith anyway, because Torrey Smith is getting up there in age. He's been in the league a long time. Moore needs to be out there, pun intended, more. So yeah, I think, I think Moore, as long as he gets to go, I think he could be a wide receiver 3 at least going forward with upside for Moore, possibly. So yeah, I think he could be very good. But Tampa Bay, again, with Fitzpatrick under center, these guys should be on as well. Mike Evans, of course, is an obvious. Deshaun Jackson is an obvious. I mean, even Chris Godwin. Again, if you need help at wide receiver, Chris Godwin is starting to look like a very solid play, again, at least as a wide receiver 3. But again, with the upside for Moore, Godwin finds a way to make plays. So another big thing in this game is the tight ends. Again, we've got 2 of the better tight ends in the league in this game, with O.J. Howard now in Tampa Bay and Greg Olsen back healthy for Carolina finally. And last week he found the end zone. So these guys, tight end 1s, must starts, absolutely, as thin as tight end is. You roll with them absolutely going forward.
Okay.
You had that look on your face like you had. No. Okay. Like you were really contemplating in thought.
No.
Okay. So, and then again, defense-wise, of course, the Bucs, hell no. They're, like I said, they're last in scoring defense, so no. Carolina, though, I don't know. It's a risk because, again, with Fitzpatrick back under center and the weapons he has, you're not going to get a big day from the Panthers DST. I don't think it's going to be there. So, again, very, very risky. Not an elite start this week, not a must play. Kind of more of a back end, streamer, sleeper, if you will, but you're not going to get elite production from them this week. The Chiefs are at the Browns. Oh, goody. Another week for Patrick Mahomes to show off.
Yeah.
I mean, what he is doing is borderline amazing. He now has, what is it now, 26 touchdowns through 8 weeks? Mm-hmm. I mean, if he stays on pace, he's going to be number 2 tied with Brady for most of the season by the end of it all.
Yeah.
If he stays on that pace. I don't know if he is, but my goodness, what he's done in the first 8 weeks is nothing short of amazing.
Stupid. Nothing short of stupid.
Nothing short of stupid. Stupid good.
Yeah.
Not stupid in a bad way, stupid good. But again, it's utilizing your weapons. It's utilizing the talent you have around you, and he has definitely done that and then some. And now he goes to Cleveland. Baker Mayfield there and that offense. Although Cleveland cleaned house this week. I don't know if you heard the news. Hugh Jackson finally got Das Boot. Hugh Jackson got fired.
Okay.
So he got canned, and the offensive coordinator got canned.
Huh.
So he and Todd Haley both got the heave-ho.
Nice.
So they need to find someone that can, develop Baker Mayfield, coach him up, lead him with this offense. Greg Williams is going to be the interim coach in the interim, and he's had experience before, so I guess that sort of helps. But they got to find someone on a full-term basis. The name that's been brought up, at least like the front runner's been brought up, Lincoln Riley. Okay. He's the current coach at Oklahoma. He knows Baker Mayfield. He coached Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma.
Nice.
So that would make sense.
Is who?
Oklahoma's coach.
Say it again.
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Is he thinking about maybe trying to go up?
Not at the moment. Now, he did say he was asked about it after Cleveland fired him, and he was asked about it at his news conference, and he said, obviously you don't want to not think about it, but right now in the interim, no, I love what I'm doing here at Oklahoma. So for now, he's not focused on it, but never say never, I I think that was kind of his approach.
So is Cleveland looking?
Oh, they'll be looking for a full term or full time. Yeah, obviously.
Are they looking at Lincoln Riley or?
I'm sure he's on the short list. I mean, there's a ton of candidates. I think. Let's see. I found a link. There were like 10 candidates for the Browns to, and I know Riley was on it. Urban Meyer was on the list for some reason. I don't know why.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, he's big in Ohio, but no.
Oh.
Here we go. Potential head coaching candidates for the Cleveland Browns. Here we go. This is from Cleveland.com, so this is even more perfect. Okay, let's see. Preliminary list. Lincoln Riley. See, first guy on the list. Yep. Right there. First guy on the list.
Oh, wow.
You're going to hear this name from now until the coaching search is over, until Riley gives an outright no. You know? And oh, yeah, he coached Baker Mayfield in college. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Matt Campbell, the coach from Iowa State. Okay, that's an interesting name. But, yeah, I can understand that. He's a very offensive-minded head coach. I can understand that.
Yeah.
John DeFilippo, the Vikings offensive coordinator. Yeah, I could see that.
What?
John DeFilippo, the Vikings.
I thought it was Filippo. John
DeFilippo.
DeFilippo.
DeFilippo?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think
I don't
it's
know.
DeFilippo or whatever.
DeFilippo?
Yeah. DeFilippo.
DeFilippo. That's what I thought I said.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah. He already knows the Browns. He was their offensive coordinator in 2015, so he knows the job.
Okay.
Jim Schwartz, the Eagles defensive coordinator. Eric Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator. That'd be a big surprise if he left Mahomes.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Dave Taub, the Chief Special Teams coordinator. His name's come up a lot. Josh McDaniels, obviously, his name's going to come up in any head coaching opening, even though he's spurring the Colts to go back to New England. Mike Groh, the Eagles offensive coordinator. So there's a few names out there that are on the list. Okay, here's the 10 candidates. Yeah, the dream is Lincoln Riley. The interim, Greg Williams, if they give Williams the full-time job. Then there's McDaniels, Schwartz, DeFilippo, Taub, Pete Carmichael, the Saints OC. Okay, that's an interesting name. And then Campbell, Mike McCarthy, the Packers head coach, is on this list.
Why?
Say what?
Why?
That's interesting. John Harbaugh's on this list.
Why?
Wow, or Bob Stoops, the former Oklahoma coach. Okay, so but yeah, some of those names, McCarthy and Harbaugh. Yeah, I couldn't see them leaving what they currently have.
No.
So yeah, that would be yeah. So anyway, so yeah, a lot of up in the air, I guess, in Cleveland. So Cleveland cleaned house, but I think Mahomes is going to clean clock this week.
Yeah,
is the way that I see it. So obviously, Mahomes is the number one quarterback in fantasy. Mahomes is number one. You start him, duh. That's obvious. As for Mayfield, but here's the thing, though. The Chiefs, we know their defense is not very good against the pass. We know this is one of the lowest rated in the league against the pass. So really, Mayfield does not have a bad matchup here. Again, if you need bye week help, if you're in a 2-quarterback league, again, if you need that help, maybe Mayfield is a solid play for you. He's actually rated, I think, 15th. Yeah, he's rated 15th on Fantasy Pros, so not bad. So, again, a decent option if you need help at quarterback this week because the matchup is so strong. Running back, obviously, for Kansas City, again, you're starting most of your Chiefs. Let's not kid ourselves. Kareem Hunt, you're starting. Tyreek Hill, as long as he plays, you're starting. But I think Sammy Watkins, we're starting him this week, after his big week last week with over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. We're starting Sammy Watkins going forward. So, yeah, him, Travis Kelce at tight end, obviously. I mean, you're starting your main weapons for the Chiefs. Let's not kid ourselves. But from a Cleveland perspective, running back, now that Carlos Hyde, that's another trade I didn't mention to you. Carlos Hyde got traded to the Jaguars from Cleveland.
Okay.
So he's now in Jacksonville. So now Nick Chubb takes over as the main back, and he's rated number 11 this week overall. So Nick Chubb is going to get a ton of work now in Cleveland. So, and again, decent matchup here. So Nick Chubb is a guy that you can now put in your lineups and lock him in as a solid play. Duke Johnson will still be used out of the backfield again, more of an RB3 or a flex play. He's the passing down back. But that's really his only value where it lies. Wide receiver wise, for Cleveland, Jarvis Landry really is the only one I really trust. He's the main beneficiary of a lot of Mayfield's targets. Mm-hmm. I really don't see anyone. Antonio Callaway occasionally gets targets, but not a whole lot of work. He's more of a risky wide receiver 3 or 4. I really don't see anybody else from Cleveland making a big impact. Now David Njoku, we found a better option in Howard, so we dropped him. It's going to be interesting going forward to see how they use him now. Last week's goose egg was just unexplainable. After all the targets he was getting from Mayfield, it was just stunning that he only got like 1 target in the game. It was a pass interference penalty, so it was just hard to explain. He's still a solid option moving forward, but just see now how the new regime is going to use him. Just kind of temper expectations at first. He's still a strong, maybe tight end 1 or 2, but just if there's a better option, maybe go after it, But otherwise, still an okay play, but not like fully great. But just see how the new regime uses him going forward. And I don't think you can use either defense in this game because, again, this game I think is going to be a shootout between the quarterbacks with Mahomes and Mayfield. I think it's going to be a shootout game. So kickers might get involved, though, if you have the Chiefs and the Browns kicker. Jets at the Dolphins. The Dolphins need a win in the worst way. The Dolphins, again, we were all like so inspired by the 3-0 start. We thought, this could be the start of something big, and ever since then, 1-4. And Ryan Tannehill got hurt, and the defense started to suck, and they gave up 43 to the Texans last week. Miami is just completely floundered, but maybe the Jets will be the remedy that they need. Although the thing of it is, though, with the Jets, Sam Darnold tends to do really well against really bad defenses, and Miami's defensive play has been pretty bad. So again, if you're in need of a bye week filler, I think either Sam Darnold or either maybe Brock Osweiler maybe could fit the bill as a not a great play, maybe more of a desperate play or a 2-quarterback league again. But I like Darnold a little bit more. I will say that I like Darnold a little bit more because again, Miami's defense has been struggling so much of late, and Darnold tends to do well in those plus matchups. I do like Darnold a little more than Osweiler as long as Tannehill remains out. That shoulder obviously is giving him fits. So Osweiler's been the guy starting in his place, and we don't know when, if at all, Tannehill's going to return. So they need him back sooner rather than later because Osweiler doesn't make the throws that Tannehill does. But we'll see what happens. But both guys, again, bye-week filler guys, 2-quarterback league plays, but I like Darnold more if I had to pick between Darnold and Osweiler. I like Darnold more. You are popular.
I guess so.
Running back wise, of course, I wouldn't really recommend any Jets because again, their running game has just been banged up this year. Aside from Isaiah Crowell, Crowell's now really all they have left with McGuire out, with Powell out. Crowell's really all they have left. So I really only like him, as more of an RB2. But aside from that, nobody else. For Miami, again, the thing with Kenyon Drake and Frank Gore, it's become a full-blown committee. So they're both getting a lot of touches. Gore has had double-digit touches in 5 straight weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so he is no longer just a compliment. Like, he is now in a full-blown committee with Kenyon Drake. So really you can only treat Drake and Gore as more or less, RB2 or flex plays. Drake is obviously the better play because he's going to get a lot of the work in the majority of the touches, but Gore is still getting utilized a lot. So both are decent plays, but again, more so as an RB2 or a flex play if you have a flex spot in your league. Again, wideouts for the Jets, I mean, they're both banged up. Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, they're both dealing with injuries. So, you want to monitor them going into the week. Yes, the Dolphins secondary can be taken advantage of, but the fact, when I'm dealing with these issues, it's tough to tell who's going to be the one breaking out. So I really can't, and same with Jermaine Kearse. So it's hard to tell who's going to get, a lot of the targets. If I had to pick one, I'd lean toward Enunwa, but it just depends on his health. So, but I only pick one out of the bunch. If so, now for Miami, they're also doing a lot of injuries at wide receiver. Albert Wilson's on IR with the hip. He's on IR. Kenny Stills with that groin issue was doing really well when he was healthy, but now he's got this groin problem, so he might not play this week. So that means, again, Danny Amendola, Devontae Parker are probably going to get the bulk of the targets again this week. So I think both are very solid plays. I think now, granted, I think the more so maybe a 2 or 3, 2-3 borderline with Osweiler under center, but they're going to get the bulk of the targets. So either way, I think both guys are pretty solid plays for you this week. And tight end wise, Chris Herndon is starting to evolve as a little bit of a sleeper for the Jets. He's starting to get a little bit more involved in the offense. Right now, he's more so a tight end 2 borderline. I wouldn't start him just yet. See if this rapport continues in the offense. See if he keeps getting targets fed his way. But he's definitely evolving into a sleeper player. I wouldn't use Gesicki from Miami. He doesn't get targeted enough. I don't even think Miami's tight ends on this list. Oh, or Nick O'Leary. Yeah, he's low down the list, so no. So, yeah, just not enough targets. Moving on to Steelers at Ravens. AFC North divisional rivalry. These, again, two teams that just don't plain like each other. And really it's Big Ben and Antonio Brown and James Conner and all these talented players, the Steelers, going up against that number 1 total defense in the league. Yeah. So this is always a fun matchup when these two get together. And of course, the biggest question mark still surrounding the Steelers is not if, but more so of an if, maybe not when anymore, but if Le'Veon Bell is going to ever return. Is he ever going to show up? Is he ever going to report to Steelers camp? I mean, they've been doing fine with James Conner in the backfield, but is Bell ever going to show up and end this holdout?
Why is he sitting out? He want more money?
He want more money. He's tired of playing under the franchise tag. He's tired of getting the 1-year tender.
Yeah.
He thinks he's worth a lot more than that.
Like they franchise him every year?
They franchise him every year for the 1 year, and he thinks he wants a long-term contract. And don't get me wrong, he's a great player. He deserves that.
Now, why is he still holding out? Because he gets fined every day.
He gets fined every day. He doesn't show up. Yep. So he's losing money.
But I'd say
I thought he was going to get traded on Tuesday. I really thought he was.
But if you have the money to pay for the money you're losing, hold out. Hold out for the whole freaking season. I don't care.
I mean, at this point, if he does not report now, if he does not report after their bye, if he does not report since the bye's passed, the trade deadline's passed, if he doesn't report until week 11, he can after week 11, he cannot get a full paycheck. He cannot. He pretty much then becomes a free agent because he will have not played under the tender. So yeah, so then Pittsburgh can basically do with him then whatever they want. And really, I see no vision where Pittsburgh keeps him at this point because they're doing fine with Connor. Connor is doing wonderfully in his absence.
Is that what they're waiting for him just to forfeit the franchise tag? Basically, is what you're telling me?
Neither side wants to give in. Like obviously, the Steelers want to keep him, but Bell wants more money.
Okay, like if he's unhappy where he's at. And he's holding out.
Yeah.
Why do you freeze him?
That's why I thought he was going to be traded.
Why?
I thought he was going to be traded on Tuesday. I think everybody thought that he was going to be traded on Tuesday, and it didn't happen. And that was the biggest stunner of the deadline. Besides the actual trades that happened, Bell was still a Steeler, and it just blew my mind. Like you're doing fine with James Conner. Yes, Le'Veon Bell is a great player, but if he's so upset, you don't need him there. You're clearly fine without him.
Won't be in trouble if they light up the 3. Conseco.
in Baker's
A
Life.
couple months. Yeah. I will always know it as Conseco Fieldhouse, damn it.
Pacers game on the TV, folks. So yeah, I don't know why the Steelers are still holding on to him. It doesn't make sense. It's
so he can't go anywhere else.
Obviously, you know.
Mm.
And there, I'm sure, are so many teams that would love to have Le'Veon Bell on their roster. Well, I mentioned the one time that the Colts are the Vegas favorites now to acquire him.
I'm sure there's a lot of teams that want. You know, I'm sure Le'Veon Bell would like to be on any other team but the Steelers.
Absolutely. If they're not going to pay them, you're not going to pay the man, you know, if you're not going
to. Who's the big agent?
Oh, Rosenhaus?
Yeah. I wonder who his agent is. Is it Rosenhaus?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't even know who.
All right, Rosie. Start getting to work.
No, it's not Drew Rosenhaus. Some guy named Bakari is his last name. Adisa Bakari.
Well, if I'm Bell, I'm firing that guy and hiring Drew Rosenhaus. I mean, he manages almost every other player in the NFL.
And then this was posted 8 hours ago by CBS Sports. Le'Veon Bell rumors. Here's why the running back could skip the entire season and why the Steelers might prefer it. So this was 8 hours ago.
Okay.
So the trade deadline is passed. The next deadline up is coming about a week with Week 10 on the horizon.
Yes.
But there is a chance Bell, who was not reported yet, could end up not playing at all in 2018.
Okay. And if he doesn't report by Week 11, he sits out the whole season? Or what?
Yeah, in theory, he needs to report to the Steelers before Week 10 if he wants to accrue a season and ensure he becomes a free agent next year. Otherwise, his contract would toll, and the Steelers would be able to use the franchise tag at the same cost again next year. So if he doesn't report before Week 10, then he doesn't become a free agent, and the Steelers could tag him again next year. That's one of three options. Either Bell can report and be paid $855,000 a week by the Steelers. Bell can fail to report, and the Steelers can tag him again, or the Steelers could decide to completely rescind the tag. I don't know which option there seems the most feasible.
Okay, I say report, play, and become a free agent so they can't re-tag you.
Right.
Be like, you know what, if you're just gonna tag me next year, screw you, I'm a free agent. Go.
Right. And the last option won't happen because rescinding the tag would equate to a net zero gain because the Steelers' other free agent signings. So the last option won't happen.
Do something with that. Yes, thank you.
Bell will be
watching the Pacers game.
Bell will be voluntarily giving up more than $14 million in guaranteed salary by not reporting this year.
That's insane.
You got $14 million. For the Steelers, having Bell stay away from the season would have several benefits. One, they would likely get a third-round compensatory pick in compensation. Two, they wouldn't have to pay him that money per week. And three, they continue playing well with James Conner in the backfield. So maybe, you know. On the other hand, the Steelers are simply going to let Bell leave by rescinding the tag and getting zero in return for him, which is why I'm going to be out of the question to see a lengthy absence continue. So yeah, this impasse, this story is going to continue for quite some time.
I have no idea how they got away with that foul. Just hugging him from the back.
Anyway, in terms of the current Steelers, though, big game with the Ravens always is. I mean, you're still starting a lot of your normal Steelers. As long as Roethlisberger plays, as long as that fractured finger is not an issue, you play Big Ben as normal. Same with James Conner. And same with Antonio Brown, as you always would. Same with Juju Smith-Schuster. The top weapons there in Pittsburgh. You keep rolling out these guys. Even the Baltimore's defense is tricky. I mean, you're not going to sit your studs. That's just the way of it. Tight end, Vance McDonald has done okay, but he's been very hit and miss. He's more of a tight end 2, in my opinion. Very tricky to see what he's going to do on a week-to-week basis. So he's kind of a play for me.
Yeah.
As for Baltimore, again, Flacco and Arley's only projected for like 15 points this week. Even though he did well in the last game against Pittsburgh, it's kind of tricky. So again, more of a QB2 or even a bye week filler if you need him. As long as Alex Collins plays, I think you start him. If the foot isn't an issue, you go with him. It'll be interesting to see then who gets the passing down work. Is it still going to be Buck Allen, or is it going to be Ty Montgomery? How are the Ravens going to utilize him now that he's in that offense? So that'll be interesting to see how they do that. But for now, Collins, I think, still a safe play. But Allen will obviously get knocked down by Montgomery. So although on Fantasy Pros, Allen is still rated higher. That's interesting. So he's like rated 6 spots higher than Montgomery. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. But for now, though, either guy's in more than a desperate flex play. Wideout-wise for Baltimore, John Brown, Michael Crabtree, they both had kind of up and down weeks throughout the year. I think both are decent. Brown's more wide receiver 2, Crabtree a risky wide receiver 3 or 4 still, depending on how many targets they get from Flacco. But decent plays, nothing great. And Baltimore really, they don't use the tight end all that much. Hayden Hurst is getting occasional targets, but not on a consistent level. He's more of a risky tight end too, so I wouldn't put him in lineups just yet. And defenses, I really wouldn't use either here. I think this game's going to be probably pretty high scoring. It usually always is. Falcons are at Washington. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones going up against the 5th-ranked scoring defense. Washington, surprisingly, is 5-2 and leading the NFC East. I mean, it's not Philadelphia. You would think it'd be the Eagles. It's not. Washington has surprised a lot of people this year with Alex Smith, Adrian Peterson turning back the clock and still being Adrian Peterson, like Adrian Peterson of old, still impressing. And then the tight end Jordan Reed is healthy and he's making plays. So this might be also an entertaining game. A lot of talented players here, a lot of pieces in this one. Atlanta, though, tends to play a little, they tend to struggle away from home. But again, Atlanta's defense is also a big question mark, especially that secondary being banged up with injuries. Matt Ryan, obviously, I think you still start. Matt Ryan's still going to have a solid week. He's still going to put up a decent amount of points this week. Alex Smith, again, I see as more, of a bye-week filler, risky, if you need help there, but QB2 or 3 play. If you need help at the position, I think he's still decent in that regard. Running back for the Falcons, again, Tevin Coleman is a must-start. Now that Devontae Freeman is on IR, he's now the guy you should set and forget on a weekly basis. Ito Smith is, again, more of a, RB3 or flex. He's very touchdown dependent. If he didn't find the end zone, he doesn't put up a big week. So that's why he's more of a risky play from that perspective. Again, though, Adrian Peterson, set and forget. You start him. Chris Thompson, more of a RB3 or a flex as he's the passing down guy out of the backfield. Wide receivers for Atlanta, of course, Julio Jones, duh. You don't need me to tell you that twice. He's a must start. Calvin Ridley, is he pretty? Yeah, Calvin Ridley's up here on the list, 33rd. That probably puts him at wide receiver, kind of border 2-3 territory. I think Ridley's still a solid play. Mohamed Sanu, of course, been battling with that hip injury for most of the season. He's kind of still bothering him a little bit. So he's more of a risky 3 or 4 play. If you're hurting at wide receiver, need some depth, Sanu could be a decent play. But Ridley clearly has surpassed Sanu on the depth chart. For Washington, though, I really can't recommend anyone except maybe maybe Paul Richardson. You know, he's getting some targets on the outside, but Washington's receivers been banged up a lot this year. Josh Doxson's hardly played and made an impact. Richardson's been up and down this year, although Jamison Crowder, he mentioned the ankle issue, though, as you know, so you know that's been bothering him. So really, Richardson is the top option, but he's really nothing more than a dart throw 3 or 4. I wouldn't recommend Doxson or Crowder as long as Crowder's hurt. Tight end wise, Austin Hooper, I think, is a solid tight end replacement this week for bye. Hooper's been getting a lot of targets lately in Atlanta, so I like him. Borderline tight end 1, more so a 2, but the upside's there with him. And Jordan Reed, again, as long as he's healthy, I think he's a solid play. I think he's a tight end 1. I think you can roll Jordan Reed out there. He fits in the Alex Smith offense. He really does fit. Neither defense I would start here. Then into the afternoon games. Again, call it the Demaryius Thomas Bowl because the Texans are at the Broncos. Already, Demaryius Thomas gets to face his former team, which will definitely be very, very interesting. Now, look, the Texans. I mean, let's be real. The AFC South now is the Texans' division to lose. They have won 5 straight games. It's a 0-3 start. Deshaun Watson is firing on all cylinders with his receivers. Lamar Miller in the backfield has been strong. And that defense with J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless, Jadeveon Clowney, I mean, they are just making life miserable for their opponents.
And what a name to be a defender, Merciless.
Yeah, Whitney Merciless. Yeah. Yeah. It couldn't have been any more perfect. But no, I mean, with how bad Jacksonville looks right now, which is a mess, how bad Tennessee looks, which is a mess. I mean, really, the Colts, I think the Colts really the only team now maybe that stands in Houston's way.
How?
Well, because we're healthy. Because Luck is throwing cannons, Hilton's healthy again. If Mackey's putting up 100-yard games, you know, I'm not saying it's. I mean, I don't think that the Colts are going to win the division.
I'm going to say too little, too late.
Really?
Yes.
After how well we looked against Buffalo and Oakland?
So,
I mean,
2 games is not a secret.
I know, but they're. I think they're the second best team in the South. I really do. I mean, it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. Do I think they win the division? No. I think Houston. You know, if Houston doesn't win the division, they only have to blame themselves. But the Colts, to me, are the second best team in the division because Jacksonville's a mess and Tennessee's a mess. So I think it just stands to look. That's the way it looks to me. Denver's 3-5. Denver, of course, made a big move. Shipping Demaryius Thomas off to Houston, but now they've still got solid backs in the backfield. Case Keenum's playing well. The fact is, though, Denver's just in a very tough division in the AFC West with Kansas City and the Chargers. You know, and they've just got some very tough competition. So yeah, Demaryius Thomas gets his former team 5 days after being traded.
Yeah,
interesting storyline there. But the quarterbacks in this game, of course, Deshaun Watson, you play him regardless. Denver's secondary is not what it used to be. He's playing out of his mind right now. He's rated number 9 on Fantasy Pros. I agree with that. You go with him. He's a must start. But Keenum, I don't know, though. Against that defense, it worries me. I really can't recommend Keenum this week. I know a lot of people like him because the numbers he puts up with the receivers he has there, but that Texans defense, even though he's at home, that worries. It just worries me a bit. It kind of worries me a bit. I really can't recommend him as even a QB2. I'm really hesitant on if you're wanting to play Case Keenum. I just worry about that Texans defense.
Yeah.
Running back wise, I like the running backs in this game. For the Texans, of course, Lamar Miller has looked very strong these past couple weeks. He's rated 15th overall on Fantasy Pros. That puts him as definitely an upside RB2, but the upside for more. It's his backfield. I mean, until Donta Foreman shows any sense of coming back from that torn Achilles he had last year, until any time he comes back, it's Miller's backfield. So he's a must start going forward. Alfred Blue is more of a flex play because he gets involved in the passing downs. But other than that, doesn't have much of a role. And then for Denver, of course, Phillip Lindsay has taken over this backfield. The undrafted rookie out of Colorado has taken over this backfield. He's rated 12th this week. He is an absolute star. So you start him as well. And Royce Freeman, again, deal with that ankle issue. If he plays, he's more of a risky RB3 or a flex, but Lindsey is definitely a must play. Wide receiver-wise, again, the Texans, you start DeAndre Hopkins and you start Demaryius Thomas against his former team. Again, Denver secondary, nothing to write home about, aside from Chris Harris, but I don't know if he'll be on. He'll probably be focused on DeAndre Hopkins, so that will leave opportunities for Thomas to excel. So we're not saying DeAndre Hopkins either. I mean, I get it. Chris Harris is a great player, but you don't sit DeAndre Hopkins regardless. He makes these one-handed catches over people.
Yeah.
You don't sit him. So you play Hopkins, you play Thomas. You're playing your Houston receivers because they already let Bruce Ellington go. They dropped him already. Cutie, again, it's the hamstring. It's hamstrings and receivers just don't tend to go well. Cutie has upside. He has upside as a wide receiver 3 or a flex, but only if he plays. So monitor his status this week. For Denver, of course, Emmanuel Sanders now is a must-start going forward with Thomas now out of there. He's now a must-start wide receiver 1 going forward. But Cortland Sutton, the rookie, is also going to get a lot more looks now. He now vaults up to a wide receiver 2 and is a guy you can start now as well also. So, yeah, Cortland Sutton is going to get a lot more work in this offense. So, yeah, you can start pretty much any fantasy-relevant receiver in this matchup. You can start. This has the makings of a fantasy jackpot game because the talent is there on both sides of the ball. Tight end wise, though, probably is the only position where it's not, because Hireman for Denver only gets utilized very little. He's like a dart throw tight end 3. Houston really doesn't use their tight ends all that much. He's rated like 30th, so yeah, I wouldn't recommend either tight end. So aside from tight end, and maybe aside from defense, except the Texans but the Texans aren't going to be a must start this week because Denver's offense plays well at home. Aside from that, you can start a lot of guys in that matchup. So I really like a lot of the guys there.
What matchup was it?
Texans-Broncos.
Okay.
Yeah, Houston-Denver.
Okay.
Also at 4:05, you've got the Chargers and the Seahawks. This one could be very entertaining because you got the Chargers sitting at 5-2, looking really good. You got Seattle, though, at 4-3, and they're starting to come alive of late. Seattle really good last week at Detroit, beat them by 2 touchdowns. Seattle plays well at home, the 12th man.
Okay.
So this game, it's Phillip Rivers and Melvin Gordon going up against the 4th-ranked scoring defense. So Seattle does not give up a whole lot of points. They held Detroit last week to 14. You know how good Detroit has been offensively. Yeah. So that's going to have a big factor in it. So I think Seattle will probably win the game, but the Chargers certainly will give them fits. It will certainly not be an easy game for Seattle. But I do like a lot of guys. I mean, both quarterbacks you can play. Russell Wilson makes plays with his legs. He makes plays through the air. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. You can play him. Phillip Rivers, is not bad for this matchup, but you temper expectations just a little bit. I like Wilson more. I think Wilson's a set and forget because the Chargers secondary can be taken advantage of. The Seahawks defense, while not as elite as it once was, it still looked stronger of late because, again, we mentioned 4th-ranked scoring defense. So yeah, it's just a little bit tricky. So I rate Rivers more like a QB2. You can still play him if you're desperate, like a bye week filler, but temper expectations. I don't think he's going to get a big week this week. I really don't see it. Running backs, though, as long as Melvin Gordon plays, you start him. Again, that the hamstring is a bit of a concern, but as long as he plays, he's full go. You play him as normal. But Austin Eckler can still be used as like an RB3 or a flex because he's a 3rd down back. If Gordon is out, though, he's must start because he can handle that backfield in his absence.
And this is Seahawks.
This is Seahawks Chargers. Seattle, Chris Carson, he's clearly made himself the top back going forward. He's rated 14th by Fantasy Pros this week. So, yeah, you roll out Chris Carson as a must start going forward as well. Mike Davis, more of a RB3 or flex again, and being the third down back. Rashard Penny really has no role in the offense anymore. Wide receiver wise, for this one, Keenan Allen, of course, is a must start. You know, he's the main weapon there for the Chargers. As for the Williams, though, Tyra Williams, Mike Williams, it kind of cancels each other out. It's really hit or miss as to which one's going to get a lot of the work. Now, Fantasy Pros has them rated about 3 places apart. You have Tyrell at 38 and Mike at 41. I really can only view both guys as either more risky RB3 or wide receiver 3, or desperate flex plays. I agree. I do like Tyrell more because he's getting like more involved in the offense. He's getting more targets from Phillip Rivers. But against this defense on the road, it's going to be really tricky. So again, more wide receiver 3 or flex play for those guys. For Seattle, Doug Baldwin, again, long as he's healthy, you put him out there as well. But also keep an eye on David Moore. David Moore has a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. He is clearly becoming a favorite target of Russell Wilson. And so David Moore, I think, is now pretty much at least usable as a wide receiver 3, at least for the foreseeable future. He continues to get this volume from Russell Wilson, though. Tyler Lockett, though, as well. Tyler Lockett is still very usable as well. So Baldwin and Lockett, I'd say, are must-start guys. But David Moore, I think, can also sneak in as a wide receiver 3. And then tight end-wise, Chargers, not really. Either guy really doesn't get a whole lot of targets here. You know, Ed Dixon, Antonio Gates, they get occasional targets, but nothing massive. They're not usable tight ends. They're more like risky tight end 2 or 3s. So I wouldn't play either one there. Defense-wise, I really wouldn't recommend either, although maybe Seahawks might get to double digits if they're lucky, but boy, Rivers can hit some deep passes, so I don't really recommend them as a major start this week. 425, this is a good one. Rams at the Saints. Does the undefeated season die this week? I think it does.
Wow.
I think New Orleans wins at home. I think it dies this week. Because New Orleans at home is like almost an automatic. Like, you know, the Saints play so well at home in that dome. You know they do.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, but the Rams really win with offense. Like, the defense has shown some cracks in recent weeks.
Yeah, but do you remember when the Rams were in St. Louis? Did they not play in a dome? So they have dome experience.
They have dome experience, but they played outdoors this season.
I know. They've played outdoors the last couple seasons since they've been in LA.
Coliseum,
but
yes.
They have dome experience. So
that is true. It's just going to be a matter of, you know, with they're still down their top 2 guys in the secondary. Mm-hmm. No Talib, no Peters. No. So that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So the offense got to make up for that, you know, because again, you know that Saints offense is going to want to come to play. You know it. So it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be intense. That's going to be a game to watch all day long.
Yeah.
So I think in this game you're going to play a lot of the guys you normally would. Obviously the quarterbacks, Jared Goff, Drew Brees, must starts. Mm-hmm. Running backs, of course, Todd Gurley, he's number 1 in fantasy. Saints, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram. Yeah, I think again you can use either one. Again, they're splitting things pretty evenly. Now, actually, last week, Ingram actually did lead the team in rushing. Granted, it was Kamara that had the 2 touchdowns last week, but Ingram actually had more yardage. Yeah. So, and he's getting work out of the backfield. So either way, both are very solid. So you can use both guys. So yeah, definitely running backs. Use them here this week. Same with the wide receivers. Again, Michael Thomas, one of the best in fantasy. You keep rolling with him. Traquan Smith is getting a little bit more involved in the offense. He's more so a wide receiver 3 with Ginn being out. But hopefully the volume will come more where he'll be a more reliable option going forward. But for now, solid wide receiver 3. And then from a Ram perspective, again, Cooper Kupp, the knee issue, you'll want to monitor that. But Robert Woods is a must start, and Brandon Cooks must start as well. Just monitor the Cooper Kupp situation. As long as he plays, you can start Cooper Kupp. If he's out, the one that will probably most likely benefit is Josh Reynolds, who took advantage of that last week and had a couple touchdowns. So if Kupp is out, then Reynolds becomes probably a startable wide receiver 3. And then tight end wise, I don't think they really use their tight ends all that much. Yeah, they really don't. The Rams, I know, don't. Now, Ben Watson for the Saints occasionally gets used, not very often, but I don't recommend him as a start. And really, I can't really recommend either defense. So I have this game as feeling it could be a shootout, so don't recommend them there. Sunday night game could also be a fun one. Packers at the Patriots.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Hello. Who wouldn't want to watch that, you know? And actually, ESPN showed earlier today, Tom Brady said on his radio show, he said, I really respect what Aaron Rodgers does. His incompletions look amazing. That's high praise.
Okay.
From Brady, to give to Rodgers. That's pretty high praise. So he really respects what Aaron Rodgers does.
Was that a conference championship or a Super Bowl possibility?
It's a Super Bowl possibility. Although Green Bay at 3-3-1.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, they're struggling to survive in the NFC North with Chicago leading the way. Or is it Minnesota? It's either Minnesota or Chicago.
What did I say? I'll see you in Atlanta.
Chicago is 4-3. Minnesota is 4-3-1. So the tie. So the tie separates them.
So Minnesota gets the top because of the tie?
I don't think so, because I think Minnesota's played one more game. I think Chicago actually it would be the team listed as ahead, I think. But yeah, in this game, with the talent these offenses have, we know that you're going to want to start a lot of your players in this game as well. Of course, the quarterbacks are a duh. You don't sit Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady in fantasy. Let's be real. Running back wise for the Packers, I mean, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. Now that Montgomery is gone, they're going to be now the 1-2 team in the backfield. Aaron Jones, I think, now is a must start going forward. Williams is more so like a RB3 or a flex play, but Jones now will have the whole backfield mostly to himself. Patriots, though, it's Sony Michel's backfield and James White. I mean, James White's a must start regardless. Michel, as long as he plays, that knee issue still kind of bothering him a bit. But James White's locked in as an RB1 the rest of the season. Michel, as long as he goes, more of an RB2 or a flex play. But monitor his status in practice this week. But as long as he goes, then he's a solid play. The wide receivers, for Green Bay, they've been mostly banged up as well. But if, Devontae Adams, you put in there as a must start regardless. But then it comes down to, do you trust Randall Cobb? Do you trust Geronimo Allison? If they play, they've been dealing with these ankle and hamstring issues most of the season. So if they go, you're hoping for targets from, you're hoping that they find the end zone, but it's like, can you really rely on these guys? It's tricky. So I don't know. I really view them more as wide receiver 3s because you don't know which one. And Fantasy Pros thinks it's close. They have Cobb at 39 and they have Allison at 40. So it's one right below the other. So it's really tricky. And then last week, I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling found the end zone last week. So he gets involved now. More so as wide receiver 4, but he's trying to get involved as long as one of them's out. So just keep that in mind. Monitor Cobb and Allison's practice status this week. Patriots perspective, of course, Julian Edelman is a must start. You play him. Josh Gordon is a must start as long as he's healthy. You play him. And Chris Hogan is kind of falling off the fantasy radar. He's more so down to like wide receiver 4. But yeah, Edelman and Gordon are your main guys there in that offense. And then tight end, Gronk, duh. You need me to tell you to play Gronk. As long as he's healthy, you play Gronk. And Jimmy Graham, as long as he's healthy, as long as the knee is not an issue, you play Jimmy Graham as well. Defenses, no. I think this game is going to be high scoring. I don't think the Ds can be really relied on here. I think it's going to be a high scoring game, so I wouldn't trust the DSTs. And then Monday night, kind of an ugly one. Titans at Cowboys, battle of 3 and 4 teams. Although Dallas gets to test out its shiny new toy. Welcome, Amari Cooper. Yeah. I'm interested to see how he's going to fit. Dak needed a true number 1 weapon. He really did, and with the crew that they had, when you're throwing to Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley and Tavon Austin and Terrence Williams.
Tavon Austin is not bad. He's the only one I would say is the not bad on that list.
But he's more of a hybrid. He's more of a playmaker. He's not a true wide receiver. He can be a running back. He can be, different positions. He's a special teamer.
He's the only one that gets the not bad moniker.
Okay.
Okay. On my list.
But but everyone else.
It's Titans at Cowboys.
It's at Dallas.
With Amari Cooper. I'm picking the Cowboys.
I would too. Yeah, Tennessee is just a mess. And Tennessee started the year strong too. We thought they were the real deal. And then it's like, oh, nope, wait, we're Tennessee. We collapse, So a quick fall from grace for Tennessee. So Dak Prescott, Dak value obviously goes up with Cooper's addition.
Yeah.
And going forward, not a bad play. He's on our radar on the scout team. And in his schedule, really don't think is that bad going forward. I think he's a solid play this week. I think, if you need help for quarterback on bye, QB2, I think Dak can probably fill the role for you.
What the hell was that call?
Obviously a bad one.
They were passing the ball on college, right?
Probably. It's possible to do call out travels in the NBA. But Marcus Mariota, no. I would not recommend him. Dallas's defense is very stout. They're very good against the pass, and the secondary is very strong. Would not recommend Marcus Mariota this week. Running back wise, Zeke Elliott, of course, is a duh. To play Zeke Elliott. You don't need me to tell you that. Tennessee, though, what to do with Deion Lewis and Derrick Henry? Deion Lewis is rated 26th according to Fantasy Pros. Derrick Henry is 35th. That's RB2 flex territory. So Lewis obviously is the better play, but I don't know. With Dallas' stout line on the defensive side, I would really recommend Lewis as a must start. I would say, again, a dart throw, RB3 or flex for either one. I mean, Henry's probably a desperate flex. Lewis is more of an RB3. I really recommend either guy as a true strong start. Wide receivers, though, for Dallas, the question, of course, then is, do you play Amari Cooper right out of the box? I mean, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, he's the best receiver they've had now on that team. It wouldn't hurt to put him out there.
Yeah, and it's not like he's had the season off, picked up from agency, not played a game.
No, he was in Oakland with Derek Carr,
and so he's not rusty.
He's played. No, so yeah, I think you can at least put him in as a wide receiver 3 for now. If he develops a rapport with Dak, then obviously his stock will rise going forward. But for now, yeah, he's usable. I think you can certainly use Cooper right away. Anyone else, though, I can't recommend. Like Beasley's rated 58th. Oh, Michael Gallup, the rookie, he's rated 61. Yeah, so I really can't recommend any of the other guys for now. And Tennessee, really, the only one that maybe has any value is Corey Davis, and because he's coming on decent. He's more of a wide receiver, borderline 2 or 3 at best, but he's really the only one, again, that has any fantasy value in Tennessee. And tight ends, can't recommend here because, again, Dallas doesn't really use theirs, nor does Tennessee in the wake of Delaney Walker going down for the year. So don't recommend tight end. I will say, though, you can play the Cowboys defense because, again, against a Tennessee team that's a mess, very strong unit at home. I think the Cowboys D is a really good play this week. All right, and with that, that will do it for the Week 9 preview. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning in, for your views, your support. It means a lot. Go out there, get a win. Good luck this week in Week 9. If you have any questions, always you can hit up the comment box down below. We'll try to get to them as soon as possible. So, for Nate Henninger, I'm Spikey Dash, signing off. Have a great week.